Hey guys, so let's dig into part 3. So let me start by saying being a realtor has some of the most amazing perks. I mean, think about being at your wits' end, not having anything, and then boom, you just have everything you ever needed or wanted within one single transaction. Let me tell you, it is completely life changing. But let me tell you, do not spend your checks on just things you want. You have to be able to reinvest them into your business. And let's not forget the actual cost associated with being a realtor and having this career path. As an entrepreneur, this now means you are taking on the cost of your business. You can line it with a brokerage who may save you some costs. But bottom line, here's the cost I'm going to go over as far as what puts you into the door. So, for starters, excuse me. First video, we talked about your actual licensing cost, like your education. So your pre-class, let's call that $300-400. Then you have your actual test, so that may be $65-100. You then have your license application, so the actual paper application you put with the state, $75-100. They will then ask you for fingerprinting and a background check, mostly to make sure you do not have any currently active criminal things going on. Now, just because you have a criminal background, it does not mean you cannot be a realtor. Now, I will say, before you pay for the class, before you pay for everything else, they do give you the opportunity to submit a background check prior to. So that way, at least you'll know if you can pass that, you can proceed with the classes, the licensing, and things like that. Highly recommend. There also is a phone number for you to call to just say, hey, I had something going on in my past. Is it okay for me to get this license? They will tell you yay, nay, if there's a certain time period or anything like that. Then your education does not stop just when you get your license. In Wisconsin, every 2 years, so every even year, you will have to do what's called continuing education. Continuing education is to keep you on your toes, to make sure that because you did something so many years ago, you don't forget or you don't have some malpractice just because you forgot. So really important. If you're lucky, some of your brokerages may pay for it. Like with Epic, they do pay for it every 2 years, but that is a cost that you will have just within your license. After you actually get your license, you then have what's called your dues. So you have your realtor dues, your state dues. These are the dues that you pay to the government to say, hey, there's no cap on how much I can make. Here's $1,200 so that you leave me alone. That's pretty much how I explain it. Now, in addition to that, you'll have what's called an MLS fee. So when you have listings or you are searching properties, that is on a like a software, it's on a website. But that website only has access if you are a licensed realtor or you apply to that MLS. So that MLS fee will change based off of who you or what association you hang your license with. So in Milwaukee, I have the Metro MLS. Metro MLS is $39 a month. $39 a month times 12. There you go. So it's not that you're paying it all up front. You're paying that every month. In addition to that, you may have like a lockbox fee or something like that. You have the option to get your own lockboxes or the Realtor Association part of your dues. Part of that is for you to have your own lockboxes. Century Lock has just updated their lockboxes, so they're a lot cooler, a lot more secure, and the old ones will be phasing out within July. So if you become a realtor after July, you'll get to see some of the new technology entering the space. After you pay your dues, and you have your license number, you have to, pick your brokerage like we talked about in our last video. The brokerage you pick is going to vary on how many fees are coming out of your money. So keep this in mind when you are interviewing different brokerages. So for instance, if you pick a brick and mortar company, so something that has like an actual building outside, that may have what's called a desk fee. So you're paying for that desk. If you are in a cloud-based brokerage, you may not have a desk fee, but you may want your own office space. So that may be like a Regus, that may be like a actual commercial lease that you do if you want your own space. None of that is mandatory with a cloud-based brokerage, but with a brick and mortar, some of them do. In addition to that, you'll have what's called a technology fee. So this is the technology that your brokerage uses in order to help you in your business. Some are $80, some are $100. It varies broker to broker. So when you're looking at different brokerages, look at those fees. Every time you have a transaction, there will be a transaction fee, whether that is a percentage or a flat rate. That will be based on the brokerage you choose. You have your E&O insurance, which is also one of those broker expenses. And then if you want any additional training, so anything like a specialty, so say you want to be a commercial agent, there's not a different license to be a commercial agent, neither is there to be a luxury agent. However, there are certain classes, there are certain marketing, there are certain additional costs that may be associated with wanting to veer off and do those different things. So you got your license, you passed your exam, and you hung your brokerage. You agreed to the fees that brokerage is. Now, your first day as a realtor, what fees should you expect? Well, the number one thing that I recommend you do is doing a professional headshot. Do not make sure this is not a selfie. Make sure it is professional. Know that this photo is what is either going to make you a lot of money or it's going to harm you in your business, because you're not what people want to hire. So a picture says 1,000 words. Make sure it is the right one. Make sure you're, cover it up. Whatever you want to have in your business or an image of your business, make sure that is a great representation. You may want to do business cards. Now, I recommend everybody have business cards for all, because soon as you say you don't need them, somebody asks for it. It is just something that you can kind of hand out without having going to a whole tangent. You can do there's like Popple and some other sites that have them like an electronic business card for if you just so happen not to have any around you. But I would recommend in doing that. Some brokerages offer them free when you sign, or at least of the first 100 free or so. Some of them it's just a Zazzle, a Vistaprint, Walgreens, Walmart. Anybody can actually make those for you, but that will be an additional expense. If you want to be a name badge agent, so if you want to wear a name badge when you go out, I will admit I bought a name badge and I've never worn it, but that was an additional expense. In addition to like an email domain, a website domain like a GoDaddy, if you want your own website. Your brokerage should give you a website. It's typically first name, last name @brokerage.com. However, you can do like a domain through GoDaddy or something. So like my name is Stephanie Stewart, so that made it really, really long. So mine is now Educate to Own. So something quick, easy to remember, catchy. But I do pay for that on a yearly basis to have that domain to then transfer over to my brokerage. There's also going to be a CRM, so customer relations management. This is how you're keeping track of your clients. So whether that is through KV Core, whether that is through Lofty, Follow Up Boss, there's so many different ones out there, but soon after a while, keeping them in your brain is not going to be enough. Now, there are some agents that are going to swear by that they don't have a CRM, they never needed one. However, when you are in a business, you need to have a book of business, and that's how you can do your follow-ups. That's how you can invite different clients to different events, but it's really your phone book of business. So highly recommend having that. Then after you have picked your brokerage, so this is you in business. So what happens next? How about your regular stuff? So when you have a listing, that sign that goes up and the elbow that it's on, both of those have a cost. If you're going to do open house decor or anything like that, that has a cost. If you're going to do property flyers, if you're going to do farming flyers. Now, I will admit, if you're going to do anything related to mail, have at least 1 year of a budget mapped out for that, because you're not always going to get a deal on your first mailer that goes out or your first batch that goes out. So something that is constant, market update, stuff like that is always going to win. And then if you're going to do anything like your client events, that's going to have a cost. You can get sponsors to help, but think of an additional cost. Zillow, Realtor, any kind of paid ads, transportation, your car, if you have a car note, maintenance, oil change, if you have increased auto insurance. Your brokerage is going to have what's called an ICA. That's going to tell you what kind of insurance you need. And then on top of all that, you have social media. So not to give you a million things, but I want you to really think about some of these costs and knowing that as an entrepreneur, you get to pick what you want to do. So tune in next time. We'll go on a little bit more of what's other things to expect with becoming a realtor.